exclusive price enhancements on the biggest games around. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should there be an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Martin Lipton of The Sun will join us later on this hour to chat about a bad night for Tottenham Hotspur. They were 1-0 up at San Siro. They'd made 5 changes and it was going to be quite the night to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan until it all went wrong. That Icardi volley that Richie McCormick was talking about there helped them on their way to a 2-1 win. Mauricio Pochettino licking his wounds, and we might hear from Pochettino as well before the end of the football show tonight. Plenty of other actions still live, of course. The 8 o'clock kickoffs all in and around the 52nd minute at the moment, including the one at Anfield where it's Liverpool 2, Paris Saint-Germain 1. Kenny Cunningham is in studio with us for the duration of the football show. Kenny, is it fair to say Liverpool have taken control of the second half, passing the ball around nicely here by the looks of things?
No, I wouldn't say totally controlled. No. Probably similar to the first half. Oh no, I think it's finally poised. The PSG actually started the second half really well. They looked to me as if they just upped the intensity levels as well, popping the ball around a little bit quicker. Passing's been a little bit more crisper second half. PSG, it's a really tight game, it really is. No changes from either team. Half time, you wouldn't have expected that to be the case. Just Liverpool got to be so careful on, particularly in possession of the football. When they have good possession of the football, their concentration levels just can't be too cavalier. Can't send too many players ahead of the ball. The first goal came as a direct consequence of Trent Alexander-Arnold putting a cross into the box and Robertson, the opposite fullback, retrieving the ball and putting the ball into the box. So you might say that's an argument for sending both your fullbacks high up the pitch. But once you get the lead, which they have now, I wouldn't be doing the same. I'd be saying to one of them, just hold your position a little bit closer to your centre halves. I'd be saying to me 3 centre midfield players, just pick and choose your moments to get ahead of the ball. Liverpool have the lead now. It's up to PSG to come after them and open up a little bit. And that's what they've been doing now, and it's noticeable second half. And the Liverpool centre halves have got the ball. The PSG players have come after them a little bit higher up the pitch. Now that's a good thing in some respects from Liverpool's point of view, because if they can play through that press into midfield, there's more space for them to play in those central midfield areas. They didn't have that first half. PSG were dropping off 10 yards into their own half. There wasn't those little pockets of space for Liverpool to work the ball. But it's been noticeable second half. PSG have been coming out of their shell a little bit and pressing Liverpool a little bit higher up the pitch. So if Liverpool are good enough to keep the composure and play through that press, they might find a little bit more pockets of space in those central midfield areas to turn and get a good quality delivery into their front three. But again, it's a nervy thing to do, to play beyond that press, because if PSG can pinch the ball higher up the pitch, we know how calculated they can be, how effective they can be if they break quickly at you. So the game's still evenly poised, as it was really on for most of the first half.
Yeah, it's been dubbed the battle of the front three, especially when you look at the lineups as well. You can easily see why that's been the case, and it's ironic really that between Mane, Salah, Mbappe, Cavani and Neymar, none of them have scored, and it's Daniel Sturridge was the member of those 6 attackers that's got the goal in this game. He put Liverpool 1-0 up in this. Do you look at Neymar, Cavani and Mbappe this season? Do you see them as a more fluid trio? Do you see them as 3 players who've been playing together for a full season now and are therefore well capable of going on and conquering Europe?
Yeah, I think so. I think the link-up play between the three of them is good. I think they enjoy each other's company. The movement's very good. Mbappe can come on the inside. Cavani's quite comfortable spinning and working the channels. We know the qualities that Neymar has working off the left-hand side. For me, though, the Liverpool front three, where they have the advantages in terms of that defensive mindset, out-possession of football, they're disciplined, they're well-drilled, they drop into the defensive shape very quickly, they track runners, they know what's expected of them. The PSG front three a lot looser than that own. And that's where I think Liverpool have the advantage. We saw at moments in the first half, particularly Trent Alexander-Arnold, when he stepped on into the PSG half of the pitch, Neymar was passing him on, reluctant to go with him. And what you have then is Di Maria gets dragged across to double up with Bernat in the full back position. That opens space up on the inside, little pockets open up for Liverpool to work the ball then on the inside. So there's better opportunities for Liverpool when they get the ball in the opposition half of the pitch than there is PSG, because Liverpool are so disciplined. Everybody takes responsibility out of possession and does a defensive shift for the team.
Yeah, when we spoke about Liverpool so far this season in terms of putting down a title challenge in the Premier League, you always come back to the cliche about defences winning championships and all that sort of stuff. Joe Gomez has been the person that's been held up so far this season as the real key, the real differentiator, I guess, this season for Liverpool, the fella who's made that real step forward. Like, speaking on the Keith Andrews show yesterday, he seems adamant that the reason why Joe Gomez has made that step forward, Keith was saying that it's because of Virgil van Dijk. It's just playing alongside Virgil van Dijk. It's the confidence, the using of class from a fella beside you. Like, do you buy that, or can Gomez take a lot more credit for it himself?
Yeah, no, I'll give the player credit as well. This is a partnership I wanted to see even last year. I felt potentially Gomez was centre-half in the making. You saw brief when he played in the England team for a period of time. He played right of a 3, but he's got all the qualities to play in that central defensive position. I always felt potentially there was a partnership there between him and Van Dijk. We just didn't see it often enough at all, Eoin, last season. So that was my one worry coming into this season, despite the purchase that Liverpool had made, that if Lovren...
Liverpool have the ball in the back of the net. It's Mo Salah, and it is going to stand. You would have thought initially there that it would have been a free against Liverpool for a potential foul on the PSG goalkeeper, but I don't think there actually was anything too much in it. He is on the ground squirming in pain, Areola, at the moment. Tuchel is furious. He feels it definitely should have been a free, and Mo Salah is walking back to the scene of the crime here. The scoreboard certainly says 3-1. It doesn't seem that the referee is going to change his mind on this. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So Areola makes a save and Sturridge goes in, studs up on Areola there. In fairness, he could go for the ball, it was there for the taking, but the follow through does mean he's left. It's right into the painful parts for Areola there. That is a nasty one for him, and it's a free out to Paris Saint-Germain. The goal will not stand, Mo Salah's goal there, despite the fact that he went away and celebrated for a good while. It seems Areola's okay.
I think he's okay. There wasn't a huge amount of force. I know what you're saying now, and he's shown his studs and he's lunging towards the ball, and his studs go beyond the ball and make contact with the goalkeeper, but there's not a huge amount of force on the challenge. That's the key. If he's arriving over 10 yards at full pace and makes that kind of contact with the goalkeeper, it is dangerous play, but in that situation he was almost lunging from a static position. So it's the right decision, if that's the decision that's been given. I'm still looking at it here. Is it 100% that he's given the free kick?
Well, they've changed the scoreboard from 3-1 to 2-1, so I'm pretty confident that means that the goal has been disallowed. It's a heavy touch from Daniel Sturridge there in the build-up to this. He's done obviously really well here today with the goal so far. That ball doesn't come at him at a whole pile of pace. If he controls that, it's a goal for Liverpool straight away.
I'm not sure he even has to control it first time round. That ball's come over a long distance. I'm really surprised he hasn't just opened his right foot and just side-footed that ball first time into the goal. He's only 4 or 5 yards out in a reasonably central area. You know, we spoke about how calm he is under pressure, probably too ice cold in that situation. You know, we saw the ball coming along. We probably should have just swung. Didn't even have to swing his left foot, just a controlled finish back across the goalkeeper in the corner. And like you said, he had the touch, they got away from him. Mane lunged in, eventually they gave away the free kick. So a real opportunity there for Liverpool to put some distance between themselves and PSG not taken.
Yeah, you're listening to The Football Show. You can catch us as well on YouTube, on Facebook or on Periscope if you fancy watching us. You can tweet us at Off The Ball, or you can text using the number 53106. One comment in here from Derek and Choom, who says, what does Kenny make of this fascination with teams playing it out from the back? I'm an Arsenal fan and it's driving me mad watching Petr Cech. Doesn't suit him at all.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be having a heart attack so much if Alisson was in the nets at Arsenal. It's all about the qualities of players that you have. Have they got the ability to play out from the back? That's what's absolutely key. Emery clearly wants to play that way, but you have to have the players who are comfortable playing that way, particularly your goalkeeper. I'd suggest even Socrates and Mustafi, I wouldn't totally trust them in possession, certainly under pressure, 25 yards from their goal. So I think as a manager, that's really when you have to be practical. You have to understand the strengths of the players that you have and the limitations, and you have to actually modify your approach and even change your philosophy at times. That's what the good managers do for me, Eoin. They're practical managers. Emery may want to play a certain way, but he may have to wait a year or so until he gets the type of players in, particularly in defensive areas, if he wants to play that type of football from the back. For me, you've got to modify your approach in the meantime and maybe play a little bit longer, a little bit more back to front at times, and not expose those weaknesses maybe you have across the defensive line. For me, that's what the good managers do. They're kind of flexible and they're practical in their approach. Yeah,
and the learned experiences as well, like Jurgen Klopp. Here we have a chance to interrupt myself there. Daniel Sturridge with a free header right into the palms of Areola here. That is one hell of a chance, Kenny, and he's completely made a hames, but it comes off his shoulder. He doesn't even get a clean strike with the head.
It's amazing because it doesn't arrive late. It comes from about 30 yards. Brilliant ball in from Alexander-Arnold, very similar to the Robertson cross, but maybe not quite as much pace on the ball. But again, finds that pocket of space on this particular occasion in between centre half and fullback, but amazed that he didn't make a better connection on the header. It's a great chance, Owen.
Like, I was planning for an evening of chatting about the rebirth of Daniel Sturridge, about how that goal is really going to kickstart his career as one of the top strikers in England.
He has scored a goal.
He has scored a goal. Has what's happened over the last 5 minutes here with that heavy touch for the Salah goal, and that marred chances of that conversation happening?
Well, it could do if PSG forced their way back into the game and take something from this game. Those two opportunities there, that one in particular, was a great chance. But again, say the quality of his movement, again, not doing an awful lot, but understanding where he needs to be, recognising the space opening up between centre half and fullback, and just banking on the quality of delivery, which again he got from Alexander-Arnold. Just needs to be more clinical, which generally is, and which he is in that position on. That's why he's in the team. That's why he's kind of got the nod over Shaqiri, and he'll be praying he gets one more chance, or certainly that doesn't come back to haunt his team, that miss.
Yeah, 63 minutes now at Anfield. It's Liverpool 2, PSG 1, as there's a foul going in on Mo Salah. Just to bring you up to speed on what's happening in the rest of the games tonight, it's 0-0 between Club Brugge and Borussia Dortmund. Red Star Belgrade and Napoli are tied at 0-0 at the moment. That is in Liverpool's group. Galatasaray 1, Lokomotiv Moscow 0, and Schalke 0, Porto 0 in Group D. Just before that chance for Sturridge, I was just going to bring up the idea of, when you mentioned Arsenal there, you mentioned the possibility that Emery may need a full year to actually get this thing on his side. And Jurgen Klopp was actually talking about it this year, about learning from last year, that there is ultimately an element of pain that every club needs to go through to actually get yourself to a place where Liverpool are at the moment, where they're quite content with how they're playing, where they feel that they can take on the big teams in Europe, and they can feel certainly that they can go ahead and win a Premier League title. Like, has the whole discourse around football management, certainly at the top level of Europe, changed at this point where there's an acceptance that patience is needed, particularly when you look at how Liverpool have had to restructure themselves in terms of getting back up to a title challenging team, and how Arsenal potentially want to do something similar?
Yeah, I think an element of patience is required. I think it can take time for a manager to induct his style of play, what he requires of his players, a general understanding of what he requires of them in and out of possession of the football. And with this Liverpool team, I think you've seen it over a period of time now, and they understand totally what's required of them in this system of play, this 4-3-3 system which they play. It's very fluid. The players are very comfortable in terms of what's required of them. There's great balance in the team. You very rarely see Liverpool getting kind of dragged out of shape, big distances opening up between players, and that's taken a little bit of time. But clearly he's had to tinker with the squad as well. Klopp, he's actually invested a huge amount of money as well into the playing squad to get those players who he feels will best implement his preferred system of play. Now, Emery's only in the position a couple of months at Arsenal. Klopp's been there for a far greater period of time. So yeah, there is an element of patience required with the manager. But as we all know, in modern day management, patience can be in short supply. But I think Emery, from what I understand, I think he will get that degree of latitude from the board, and they will show a little bit of patience with him, with his track record and his qualities as a coach. I think they just have to back him over a period of time. And you're probably right, 2-3 transfer windows at least before we start to see maybe the players understand what's required of them and actually become effective in terms of what he wants to do.
Yeah, just on that, there is another text in from Dan saying, surely a good manager can change their philosophy to fit the players at their disposal. Too many teams are playing square pegs in round holes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. It's a fair point. Maybe you can't make too many generalisations in terms of how modern coaches want to play. We see a lot, centre half splitting and centre midfielders dropping in and looking to play from the back, getting little overloads. Even managers encouraging the players to play under pressure 30 yards from goal, which is a very dangerous thing to do. I'm not a huge fan of it myself. Yes, it's dependent on the quality of players you have at your disposal, but the risk and reward that you take in those situations, for me, very often doesn't stack up. So yeah, for me, the very best managers do take a practical approach to things. They're not chameleons of sorts, but they understand the qualities that their players have, and they can tinker their team's approach to accommodate that. So I think it is. Yeah, I think that really is an important trait. in the very best managers. You could argue the very best managers are at the very best clubs. They can actually they can afford to spend huge sums on players and actually buy the type of players who can best implement that system of play. Other managers at the other end of the spectrum haven't got that luxury in terms of being able to spend that huge amount of money. They have to get the best out of what's available to them, and like I said, sometimes that involves modifying your approach as a manager, and that's something which I respect in managers who have those limitations in terms of the spend which is available to them, but make the very best out of what they've got available to them.
Are you surprised when you look at PSG tonight? Like, I'm sure for a lot of people this is the first time watching PSG this season. I don't think many people watch Ligue 1, but the lack of activity that Tuchel has done at the club. I mean, obviously new manager coming in, plenty of money to spend, and they've capped themselves obviously with they're in a bit of danger, aren't they, financial fair play and all that. But like, when you look at the Neymar signing last year, has that hamstrung them to a point now where it's like, God, we've got to create a team around this guy, and Tuchel comes in and is like, I'm not even sure if this is the sort of team that I want, where we have a structure around this Brazilian star who's obviously fantastic, but it may not be the best course of action in terms of perhaps going on to winning the Champions League. Like, what's his mindset like at the moment?
Yeah, well, what he says publicly and what he thinks privately might well be two very different things. Politically in clubs of the stature of PSG, you got to be careful what you say, but I think financial fair play has played its part during the summer, Owen, in terms of the spend available to them. We haven't seen a huge amount spent. I think officially the Mbappe transfer went through, so I think they were limited in terms of how much spend they could bring in apart from that. I think there's ideally, I looked at the Dortmund team which he managed reasonably successfully in terms of kind of their style of playing. Always struck me as a manager kind of who liked a lot of energy, kind of dynamism in the team. I'm not exactly sure that he's got that in certain areas of the pitch, maybe in those midfield areas. I think at centre half, Thiago Silva for me has been one of the best centre halves in world football for the past 10 years. Not too sure how many years he has left in him. Marquinhos, like we said, probably a centre half. He's occupying that holding midfield position. Verratti, of course, a player of high technical ability. So they're not far off, I will say that, but I'm sure, certainly if not in the January transfer window, if he gets the opportunity next summer, we'll see him make maybe one or two key signings in one or two areas in the pitch, probably in that central midfield area for me. Maybe a centre midfielder of real kind of high energy, a real kind of physical presence in there, real box-to-box player, somebody who can dominate games. Verratti, like I said, very technical player. Rabiot, very same, very easy on the eye, very comfortable, works the ball nice and one touch in areas of the pitch. But somebody, a real physical presence who's really going to dominate maybe in that central area of the pitch. Maybe that type of player going forward for PSG would improve them. Yeah,
it seems Liverpool are attacking wave after wave after wave here. Like, you've got PSG getting them on the counter, but it seems that the pace of this, particularly since those two big chances, has been dictated by Liverpool here. They have got that stranglehold on the game. Like, do they go deeper now? Is there danger that they go into their shell a little bit here? Is that the only open door for PSG?
It's got to pick and choose. Not Liverpool's best interest for this to become an open game of football, end-to-end stuff. Big gaps appeared in between the defensive and midfield lines. Ideally, that's the type of game that PSG want to play. And I'm not saying Liverpool shouldn't attack, but like I said, I think even at 2-1, they've been in the ascendancy, should have got that second or that third, even fourth goal. Shouldn't get too frustrated, need to keep their concentration, need to keep their calm, need to be selective, like I said, in terms of how many players they commit into forward areas of the pitch. Still need to show this PSG team respect. Don't get too carried away. Yes, they should have had the other goal, but let's just make sure they don't concede another. It's an obvious thing to say, they don't concede again, they're going to win this game. So yeah, push, but be very mindful of the fact that you don't leave yourself exposed to the counter-attack. And when I say that, I'm not saying that, i.e. don't leave yourself 2v2 or 3v3 at the back. It's a case of not committing too many players, even in wide areas, too high up the pitch. Because certainly Neymar and Mbappe at times, they'll kid you on. They'll track players so far, then they'll let them go. And very quickly, if there's that one half sloppy pass in the wrong area of the pitch, within seconds, they've got the players who can work the ball very quickly up the pitch into the feet of Cavani, Mbappe, and Neymar, and very quickly you can find yourself in a 3v3 situation. Liverpool can't allow that to happen. Jordan Henderson is going to be key there as well, pulling people around him, the likes of Milner as well with his experience. You know, he's got to, if anybody's got to get forward at times, maybe Wijnaldum. Milner for me, Henderson now have got to play the remainder of this game, the last 20 minutes behind the ball. You know, keep in close contact with the two centre halves, be in contact with the full-backs, put the brakes on Alexander-Arnold maybe, and Robertson's getting himself high up the pitch, and vice versa. If they can pinch another goal between now and the end of the game, great. But they certainly don't leave themselves open to any type of counter-attack from PSG in the remaining 20 minutes of this game.
Yeah, Roberto Firmino coming on for Daniel Sturridge there. 72 minutes gone. It's Liverpool 2, Paris Saint-Germain 1. So we were talking about the Croke Park Challenge a little bit earlier on as part of our competition tonight, and we gave you the opportunity to be involved. And the winner for tonight's competition is Peter Scully. He correctly answered 1989 as the answer when Cork and Mayo last contested a men's senior All-Ireland final. It's all with thanks to Self-Help Africa. For more details, get on to www.selfhelpafrica.org. Martin Lipton is on the way next. It's been a pretty tough evening for Spurs.
On Off the Ball.
In association with the faster-than-ever Boyle Sports app for exclusive price enhancements on the biggest games around. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Lunchtime Live.
I think this is actually quite brilliant. What would make you change your drinking habits? Would you, if I said, oh, your liver will get swollen, would that make it? Or would I say you're going to make a complete tool of yourself and people are going to be talking about you afterwards, and what's more, laughing about you afterwards? To discuss this, I am joined now by John Moynes, author and poet.
You know, this morning when I got the text from your producer asking me to come in, I was so surprised I spat out my brandy. It was...
You fool! I'm going to shame you now for that.
Lunchtime Live with Ciara Kelly.
Thanks to VideoDoc.
Back tomorrow at midday on News Talk.
Did you know that if you supply new or used cars or light commercial vehicles to drivers in the Republic of Ireland, you have a legal obligation under end-of-life vehicle regulations? That's where Elves can help by providing you with the most cost-effective option to ensure you're compliant. Visit elves.ie for your 2018 motor dealer application form. Elves. Driving car recycling forward.
Don't miss out on the most epic Saturday of sports ever. Saturday 6th of October, watch Leinster take on Munster, Man United beat Newcastle, and the showdown the world's been waiting for. Conor McGregor versus Khabib. All live and exclusive on Air Sport and free with Air Broadband. Switch today for just $39.99 a month. Go in store or visit air.ie. New customers only, $59.99 a month thereafter, subject to availability. User experience may vary. For full details and terms, see air.ie.
So, there you are, in work, online, having a sneaky look at that Samsung appliance you want. In fairness, they are gorgeous. Once you get a Samsung American fridge freezer, there's no going back. And now Samsung are offering cash back on loads of products at appliancesdelivered.ie. You can save between €40 and €340 till November 6th on fridge freezers, washing machines, dishwashers. Sketch, boss is coming. T's and C's apply. Check out the Samsung cashback offer at appliancesdelivered.ie.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
You're welcome back to the Football Show. It's Eoin and Kenny Cunningham with you all the way till 10 o'clock. It is still Liverpool 2, Paris Saint-Germain 1 at Anfield. 75 minutes gone in that one. In Group A, it's currently Atletico Madrid 2-1 up at Monaco. Club Brugge and Borussia Dortmund is scoreless. Earlier on in Group B then, Barcelona beat PSV Eindhoven 4-0, while Inter Milan beat Spurs 2-1. We'll come back to that in just a moment. The other game in Liverpool's group is scoreless between Red Star Belgrade and Napoli. And in Group D, it's Galatasaray 2, Lokomotiv Moscow 0, Schalke 1, Porto 0. So let's go back to that game earlier on. It finished 2-1 to Inter Milan at the San Siro. A bad night to be a Spurs fan. They were 1-0 up after 85 minutes until that amazing volley from Mauro Icardi to level proceedings. Martin Lipton will join us in just a moment, but first let's hear the thoughts of Maurizio Pochettino.
I think I am happy with the performance. The performance was so good. We dominate until to the end, but of course so cruel the result on the end, because I think the team deserve more, and I think for me was the best performance that we had from the beginning of the season. I am happy with the performance, but so disappointed, and of course so annoying, because I think the players deserve more and the team deserve more, and in two action we concede 2 goals, and of course you lose the game. I think until we conceded the first goal. The game was under control. We created the best option, and of course, after we concede the draw, everything can happen in a place like San Siro. It's so difficult to assess the game after they score, and of course disappointed, and now it's so important to looking forward and try to understand that is football, and always when you are in a negative period it's so difficult to bounce back and start again to build your positive results.
It is another defeat from a winning position and also undone by a set piece again. Why does that keep happening, do you think? Is there something on the pitch, is there something in the mentality, or is it just bad luck of football?
It happens in football, of course. I believe that only you can fix that working harder than before. It's not another way, because we cannot say it's bad luck. In some nation we made a mistake, and that mistake you pay. Sometimes you don't pay, but the last few games we are paying a lot, and we are punished. We are suffering the punishment from our mistake. But that is football. Is keep working and try to prepare the next game.
Is this a lesson in how the margin for error in the Champions League is so small, and does it get harder with every defeat to pick yourselves up?
Well, of course, not only Champions League, Premier League, all the competition that you are involved are so important, but and it's so difficult to win. But of course, now in that negative period, the most important is to be calm and try to assess the best in the best way, understand why, and help the team to bounce back again.
Yeah, Mauricio Pochettino, Spurs manager, speaking after a defeat in Milan earlier on. Martin Lipton, chief sports reporter at The Sun, is with us on the line. Good evening to you, Martin.
Good evening.
So, obviously not the result Spurs wanted, but according to Pochettino, their best performance of the season so far. Would you go along with that?
I wouldn't go quite as far, but it was certainly better than the performance of the last couple of weeks. I thought first half they were pretty sloppy and shoddy in possession, but they looked actually a bit more like it, didn't they, after the goal? They were knocking the ball about, they were keeping the ball better, creating, and if they scored the second goal, they'd probably win the game. But at the moment, if you don't, things go against you quite easily. If you don't take your chances, you're going to lose, and that's what happened. I mean, the game was theirs. You couldn't see anything other than the Spurs win with 5 minutes to go, and they lost the match. But that happens, isn't it? I mean, it's unfortunately the nature of the game.
Yeah, like you know yourself, rewriting headlines and all of that. You can only imagine what the headlines would have been like after 84 minutes in that game, because not only is it a win in Italy, it's a win in the San Siro after 5 changes to a Spurs team. This was set to be a pretty glorious night for Mauricio Pochettino and his charges.
Well, I don't know glorious, but it would have definitely been a very positive response to the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, they're not playing very well. We've seen that. They are suffering from the exertions of the summer. There's no doubt about that. Players, almost from 1 to 11, they're looking a bit off it, and you certainly aren't seeing the best of Kane or anything like the best of Kane at the moment. We know that. Son's just come back from his Asian Cup experience. Eriksen's not playing particularly well. Ali's injured. A lot of their key players aren't right, and that makes a difference, doesn't it?
What's your take on Harry Kane at the moment? Why isn't he at it?
Well, I don't think he's fully recovered from the injury he got at Bournemouth in March. I think he's been struggling for a few months now. He's playing on muscle memory. He's such a good player that he's scoring goals or scored goals despite not playing particularly well. I actually thought he played a lot better today, particularly second half. He began to show for the boys movement was better than it has been for a while, and it was a frustration for him that they ended up on the wrong side of the result, because I thought he was actually starting to look a little bit better.
Martin, Kenny Cunningham speaking.
Hi, pal.
How's it going? Listen, I understand what you're saying in relation to Harry Kane, but is it a fair argument to say that the kind of physical drop-off that we're seeing in Harry Kane is actually a combination of the actual game time which he's played over the past 3 to 4 years? And if that is an issue kind of going forward, it begs the obvious question that to resolve the issue, Harry Kane basically needs to play less game time going forward. And if that is the case, that's going to be a difficult issue for Pochettino to manage, because up until now, Harry Kane's fit, Harry Kane plays. It's as simple as that. He's very ambitious He's chasing records, top Tottenham goal scorer, English goal scorer, top Premiership goal scorer of all time. You can clearly tell these are accolades which he wants to chase. Now, is Mario Pochettino strong enough going forward to say to Harry Kane, I've got to look after you, we've got to manage this situation better. You're not going to play 38 Premiership games, you're going to come out of the team, you're going to have to accept it because it's in your best interest going forward.
I think it would be beneficial, definitely, for him to have a break. The question is when he has that break. And the reality is that he's still the most likely goal scorer. They're not playing particularly well. There's always a chance that he gets one and it will sort of get him going again. You know what strikers are like, they thrive off goals.
Will Harry Kane accept that, Martin?
Period without him, and they were able to cope with it. They had Ali, Son, and Eriksen all scoring goals in a front three. Now, I think they may, once Dele gets back and fit again, they might consider that option at one point and maybe giving Kane a couple of weeks. Just say, right, you're not playing. There's some games coming up where, in normal circumstances, you think about leaving him out of the team. The next three league games are Brighton, Huddersfield and Cardiff. And there are games that normally Spurs would expect to win. But these aren't normal circumstances. They're not playing particularly well, and maybe they feel they've got to keep him in just to win a game, get some confidence going, and then take him out. But I think he could do with a couple of weeks off, certainly sooner rather than later.
Will Harry Kane accept that situation? That's the interesting thing.
Well, I think if Pochettino explains the rationale behind it, and they get on really well, and it's not as if he's saying, I don't think you're very good. It will be, I think you need a break so you can be better. And I think that's what you want with a player. You need for Spurs to have a good season, to finish in the top four, Kane's got to score 25 goals. Now, if he scores 23 of those in the last 7 months of the season, well, that's not bad, is it? He doesn't have to get them all now. I think it's about making sure that when it matters, he's able to play, and that's what they need to do.
Yeah, definitely. Just hold that thought, Martin. Bad news for Liverpool fans. Kenny Cunningham, 2-2 at Anfield.
Oh yeah, amazing. PSG were always in this game. Liverpool had given the ball away in a really bad area of the pitch and come to possession of the pitch. In their half of the pitch have surrendered possession. They haven't got that good cohesive defensive shape that we're so used to seeing. It's all a little bit panicked on the edge of their penalty box. And PSG eventually work the ball into the penalty box and make them pay. But Liverpool, architects of their own downfall and giving the ball away in comfortable possession in their own half of the pitch.
Uncharacteristic?
Yeah, uncharacteristic, but this is what we spoke about. Liverpool, they have to be so careful in possession of the football. You can't relax, you can't switch off. You still have to have a good defensive shape in a funny kind of way, even when you're in comfortable possession of the football. And they've shot themselves in the foot there. And PSG, as we spoke about, when they win the ball on transition and you're out your usual defensive shape, they can expose you quickly, which is what they did.
Yeah, 2-2, 84 minutes played. Martin Lipton of The Sun is still with us on the line. Just to go back to this idea of the Kane situation, there is still a growing idea, Martin, and I'm not sure if you subscribe to it, that this isn't a season where they can afford to give players rest, because this is still a key season for Spurs. This is seen as the last year where they can perhaps have all the key components of their attacking quartet or their attacking trio, whatever way you want to look at it, on their current contracts, and perhaps that will come to a head next summer. Maybe you could argue the summer after that, when these players are simply going to want more money, or else they're going to have to go and chase trophies and that extra contract. I'm not sure what you think of that. Do you subscribe to the idea that these next 8 months and the rest of the season are so pivotal for the future of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club?
I'm not entirely sold on that. It's only because they've suddenly got this new stadium, which when it finally comes on stream, is going to be grossing them £4 million every home game. They are able to pay. They're giving Kane the sort of money that not quite matches what the biggest 5 clubs in Europe could pay him, but not many teams could pay more than they are paying. They are already in negotiations with Ali and Eriksen and some of the other players. A lot of the players have also signed new deals. Pochettino's signed up for the long haul. So they're not in a terrible situation in that regard at all. I think the danger is, if there's a sense that the club is going in the wrong direction, then players might want to go away. If it's a a difficult couple of months, that's entirely different, isn't it? And let's see where the season goes. At the moment, if you look at the Premier League, I think there are 3 clubs who are going to finish first, second and third in no specific order, and there are 3 clubs who are playing for fourth. And Spurs are one of the 3 clubs who are playing for fourth. And even though they've had a pretty ordinary start, they've actually picked up more points in the corresponding games than the same 5 games last season. They haven't played well yet. They haven't played at all well yet. And they're not in a bad position. They're probably arguably in a better position than they deserve to be. And if they were to pick up maximum points in these next 3 games, as I said, Brighton, Huddersfield and Cardiff, people will stop talking about, oh dear, Spurs in a bit of a crisis. It's often, one result can change everything, but they do need to start getting some results.
I think you're right, Martin. I still think they're in a very healthy state, the football club. People are continuing talking about this mass exodus of players. If they were suddenly to drop out of the top 4, but I think it's a great team spirit inside the football club, engineered by the manager. I think they enjoy each other's company. I think their squad, which is developing together and getting better, and I think the club is doing as best they can to reward their players in terms of contracts. Yes, they're not going to earn the type of money that they would at Manchester United, possibly Manchester City, but they're Tottenham Hotspur, and the club is doing as best they can for the players. I think in terms of energising the team, I look at the bench, man. I don't know what you think in terms of the options available to Pochettino. Look at Wanyama, who 18 months ago for me was absolutely outstanding. That central area of the pitch was almost a first pick. He was an absolute monster in there in terms of his physicality, his ability to get around the pitch, make tackles, intercept balls, and be a real kind of driving force for Spurs in that central area of the pitch. Winks as well hasn't had a lot of football. So if you're talking about re-energising the team, for me there's players around the periphery of the squad at the moment that actually come in and give that injection of kind of energy to the team.
There are players there. I think Moore has actually done quite well when he's played. Son is now back. They've missed him for the first few weeks of the season. Yeah, Wanyama's been injured most of this year. He gives them some extra physicality, no question, particularly with Dembele able to play, it looks like 1 game in 3 at the moment. He seems to be struggling. Although he actually had a better second half today. He's more into the game when it slowed down a little bit. Collectively, they're not at it, are they? They're not quite right yet.
I think you're right, though.
And they've still quality. You watch Trippier on Saturday. There was nothing there, and we know he's better than that. He has been for the last 2 years. It isn't as if they've suddenly become bad players. They're all still pretty young. They're just having a bad shot.
Yeah, perhaps a bit of overreaction after a result like that is the flavour of the hour. But listen, Martin Lipton of The Sun, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem, take care.
Martin Lipton there, Chief Sports Reporter at The Sun. It is still Liverpool 2, Paris Saint-Germain 2, just 2 minutes of normal time remaining. Trent Alexander-Arnold just had a free kick. It deflected off the ball, it hit the woodwork. PSG broke down the other end after the resulting corner and almost went close themselves. A block, I couldn't quite see who got the block in for Liverpool in the box, but it was a pretty big chance for PSG. This game could still have a winner. We're just wrapping up there in that one, as I've said. Quick mention tomorrow, Kenny, for Young Boys against Manchester United. It's shaping up to not be the greatest start for the Premier League sides in the Champions League this season, but Manchester United, surely they get the job done here.
I wouldn't say it's a given, but of the teams in the group, I'm sure Marino will be targeting this game potentially for maximum points. We know what's coming down the road with the home and away ties against Juventus. Even Valencia will be a tricky opposition. So I think not just Manchester United, but those are the 2 teams I've mentioned will be looking at Young Boys and looking to take, you would have thought, minimum 4 out of 6 points against that particular team. It's a really interesting group. I still think Manchester United are well equipped to come out of that group, but they won't be able to tiptoe their way through. They'll have to find a high caliber performances, particularly against the likes of Juventus, as we know, and Valencia as well. Very competent Spanish side, some very talented individual players within their team as well. So I'm really looking forward to that group. I know we've mentioned the Liverpool group and Tottenham in terms of being the 2 outstanding groups, but for the Manchester United group as well, for me, it's a real test for Manchester United going forward. Form's been a little bit indifferent, obviously, so far this season, but it'll be a real test for Manchester United against those 2 teams in particular going forward. But certainly the game tomorrow evening is one which the players will know themselves. They'll want and they'll expect 3 points.
There was this theory going around before they eventually got knocked out to Sevilla last year in the Champions League that Manchester United were the perfect team equipped to go all the way in the Champions League, despite the fact that domestically they weren't showing the form anywhere near the likes of Manchester City and eventually the form of Liverpool. Like, could that theory be construed to be prescient to this season at all? Has there anything changed in the back room there at Manchester United, or anything in the squad mentality that might suggest that they still have that solidity that some people perceived as kind of the grit required to win the Champions League?
I don't think we've seen an awful lot of it so far this season, particularly across the defensive line, Eoin, in terms of how Mourinho's chopped and changed, particularly in the central defensive area. So no, basically it's only been really the arrival of Fred, which they need in that kind of central area of the pitch. I think he's shown a little Fred for me in that kind of central area of the pitch, but certainly him alone, I don't think it'll be enough.
Goal Liverpool. 3-2, 91st minute, Roberto Firmino. Oh my God.
Talk about he definitely showed enough there, Firmino. That's an absolute outstanding finish. I can't believe he got it in from there. When he pulled the trigger on, that was quite an acute angle. He's inside the penalty box, but he's not in the central area there.
My God, what a start to the Champions League. People talk about the group stage of the Champions League being crap. This has been unbelievable. Spurs conceding in the 92nd minute, Liverpool winning in the 92nd minute themselves. This is quite the result and quite the way to do it, isn't it?
Oh, the happiest man in the stadium will be Daniel Sturridge. I'm surprised the camera hasn't gone on those chances that he missed there.
Well, it is the man who replaced him who scored the winner.
Yeah, but it's brilliant from, I think it's James Milner, because actually PSG win the ball, look as if they're going to counter-attack. James Milner wins it back for his team. They recycle it, they work the ball into Firmino. It looks as if he's going to take the shot on his left foot, checks back onto his right. He's got PSG players between him and the goal, and just as clean as you want, just arrows it into the far corner. You wouldn't have thought it was possible to score from where he was, but it's a brilliant strike, possibly through the legs of one or two of the PSG players. But technically done exactly the right thing. Get your head down, just arrow it across the goalkeeper. Maybe it gets a deflection off one of the defenders. If the keeper saves it, maybe there's a tap in for one of your colleagues. But as it turned out, the strike was good enough to carry it into the bottom corner of the net. Brilliant strike. What a substitute to be able to bring on Firmino as well.
Unbelievable. His celebration there involved placing his left hand and his palm over his left eye. I wonder was that pointed at all with what happened at the weekend. We'll bring you the full-time score on that after this.
Off the ball on News Talk.
Coast Guard rescue, bringing them up.
Every time you make it Maldron, you save a tenner.
Well, you don't actually save a tenner. You save a tenner. Like 10 euros. It's good though that you did that.
Make it Maldron. Save a tenner. Book now at maldronhotels.com.
Bring us up!
Terms and conditions apply.
Experience Control GX from Just for Men. The first shampoo with a brain. What makes it so smart? It reduces grey the same way it grows in. Gradually. The more you shampoo with Control GX, the less grey you have. Just use it until you like what you see. How smart is that? Gradually reduce grey with the first shampoo with the brain. Find Control GX in leading supermarkets and Irish pharmacies nationwide.
Hi, Teresa Mannion here with a road safety alert for bad weather. Your vehicle may be blown off course in strong winds, so slow down. Watch out too for vehicles and cyclists veering across the road and fallen debris like branches. Visit rsa.ie from the Road Safety Authority.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Full time at Anfield that is finished. Liverpool 3, Paris Saint-Germain 2. Daniel Sturridge and James Milner had put them 2-0 up before Thomas Meunier equalised before half-time, and Kylian Mbappe scored the equaliser in the 83rd minute. Kenny Cunningham, Roberto Firmino won it in the 92nd minute.
Oh yeah, we can't quite pick up all the noise level at Anfield at this moment. It's mute on the TV screen, which is a shame because it must be absolutely electric. People talk about the great European nights at Anfield, and we're witnessing another one here under Jurgen Klopp, and brilliant victory from Liverpool. Looked as if they'd shot themselves in the foot, had the opportunity to put the game to bed at 2-1 to get 3-4-1, didn't take them, and not for the first time at this level you're made to play. Clinical from PSG in terms of winning the ball back off Liverpool. A good finish from Mbappe. It looked as if they're going to steal a point from the game, but credit to Liverpool, kept pushing, and James Milner in particular. Like I said, looked as if PSG were going to break up the pitch, made the decision to get close, win back possession for his team 10 yards outside the PSG penalty box. That was absolutely crucial. Kept the ball in the danger area. Eventually they worked it to the feet of Firmino, and he had a huge amount to do. Oh, and we were glancing at the TV screen. You weren't thinking goal here. You know, he's done fantastically well. Just kind of feinted to shoot off his left hand side, checked onto his right, and then just arrowed the ball into the far corner. Brilliant finish.
Yeah, you will be with us again tomorrow evening to give your more considered take on everything there. But just briefly, we've got about a minute before we wrap. The idea of winning it late, like say the absolute body blow that Spurs will have taken earlier on, it obviously works in the other direction for Liverpool, where that win, it's actually a much bigger win, it'll feel to them, than it would have been if they'd held out at 2-0.
Yeah, you almost feel invincible, I would have thought, Eoin, going forward, because you never doubt yourself. You almost feel as if you're never beaten. Like going forward now in this competition, even in the Premiership, you know, if you find yourself in a situation of getting pegged back or behind, you keep believing. You know what I mean? Your head doesn't get down, because you know you've done it before and you can do it again. So it's a great victory in one respect, you're right, but psychological in terms of winning the game that late against a team of this quality is absolutely huge from a psychological point of view.
Definitely. Thank you very much for your company tonight. Enjoyed it. As I say, you'll be back with us tomorrow evening. Before we go, just to tell you that Liam Miller's testimonial dinner is on next Tuesday, the 25th, in Cork City Hall. It's going to be a star-studded night of entertainment, and we've got a pair of tickets to give away. To be in with a chance of winning, tell us which club did Mo Salah play for before joining Liverpool. Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cent, and we'll give you a call back after the show. By the way, if you missed out on tickets to the Liam Miller testimonial match itself, you can still contribute to the fundraising efforts by taking part in a silent auction. There are signed jerseys from Bobby Charlton, Ronaldo, John Giles, concert tickets, and loads more. So get your bids in now at galabid, that's galabid.com/Liam. Now tomorrow morning, OTBAM is live at 7:45 on youtube.com/offtheball, facebook.com/offtheball, and Twitter. Ger and I will have any and all of the latest developments in the Mayo Ladies football saga and reaction to the result of the Carnacon appeal. Tomorrow night then, Wednesday Night Rugby with Keith Wood and Matt Williams. Colin Kaepernick's former teammate Nate Boyer will join the show, and the man, the legend, Kenny Cunningham, who we've had here tonight in studio for another night of Champions League action with both the Manchester clubs in action. Up next, Richie's in for Tom Dunn. We'll chat to you later. Bye bye for now.